Hello, and welcome to the GSSI Training Academy's ongoing series on the PaveScan RDM 2.0. My name is Jake, and I'm a technical trainer here at GSSI, and today I'm going to show you how to apply a valid data range to your files. I'm also going to show you how to adjust the display options for your data and why any of this matters to how your data is displayed. One thing to note right away, there are different ways to display our data in PaveScan. None of these different displays and filters is destructive to our data. In other words, when we view our data in different ways, it doesn't fundamentally change the actual data that we collected in the field. It just changes the way our data is displayed or exported. We'll start first by tapping the playback button and then tapping playback file. Next, we're going to need to select a project group and a project name. Okay. To access the valid data range function for the project name, we next need to tap the project info button, followed then by tapping the properties button. In the project properties menu, you will see a checkbox entitled Apply Valid Data Range. We can check or uncheck this box, which will either apply or not apply a valid data range to our project. Now, what is our valid data range? What is considered valid? This is up to the operator. But to check our data range, we can tap on the Range Settings button at the bottom of the menu. In this menu, we see 4 different value types: dielectric, percent compaction, percent voids, and density, as well as each type's minimum and maximum ranges. If we return to the previous menu, the project properties menu, and check the Apply Valid Data Range box, those value ranges for each value type, like dielectric, compaction, void, and density, will be applied when we play back a file. Take note of the dielectric value ranges that are displayed here in this Valid Data Range menu. They will be important in a minute. It is important to note that if you want to change the value ranges for data collection moving forward for all future projects, you will need to go into System Settings and change the range settings in the project default menu. This will ensure that all future projects and files collected will use this updated data range. For now, we're simply changing the data range or applying or unapplying a valid data range to a file that's already been collected. Okay, so let's take a look at a file that has these valid data ranges applied. I'm going to hit back. I'm going to tap back again. Now I'm at the Select Playback File. And I'm going to select File 1. Hit Playback. Okay. So this file is currently displaying dielectric ranges for 3 sensors used to scan new asphalt. We have the station numbers and the distance measurements displayed along the horizontal axis. We have each of the 3 sensors used displaying dielectric data. Now, remember that valid data range we had applied for the dielectric? It was between 4 and 6. Notice that as the dielectric values rose higher and went over the valid data range of 6, the values dropped to 0. In this section here, station 591, around 40 feet, all 3 sensors are displaying 0 values for dielectric. That's because the dielectric values we were collecting fell out of the valid data range between 4 and 6 that we had set and applied. Now, let's go back and uncheck that valid data range box. Okay, tap to uncheck. We're going to make sure to hit Save. Right? Now let's take a look at that same data from File 1. Our data displayed looks a bit different now. That's because we turned off that valid data range, and now we're able to display the dielectric values collected that fell outside of that range that we had set. Another thing to note here, the display options located at the bottom of the playback and collection menus will also affect the way our data looks. Let's tap on this button. If you have a mixed calibration file generated and attached to a project name, you can also adjust your measurement type displayed to display dielectrics as well as percent compaction or percent void. For now, we're just going to look at dielectric. If I were to narrow my maximum and minimum values for dielectric, I would only see values that fall within that display range that I chose. If I were to widen the maximum and minimum values, I would see values that fell within that wider range. So adjusting our display values changes the way our data may look, but it doesn't change the data itself, just which values we'll see when we play back the file. Now, let's go back to the valid data range settings. Before we simply uncheck the box so the valid data range was no longer applied, but what if we want to change our valid data range? All right, here we can change our data range settings. I'm going to change my minimum and maximum values for my dielectric to 3 for a minimum, 7 for a maximum, make it a little wider, and I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to check to apply my valid data range and hit save again. Now let's go back to that file that we were previously looking at. Now, because our valid data range is broader than it was before, our data is displayed a bit differently. All right, so what's the takeaway here? The takeaway is that we can view our data through a number of different filters in a number of different ways. There are different ways of seeing that same data. We can apply a valid data range or not apply a valid data range. We can change our data range and range settings, and we can also change our display options to influence how the data looks. Any questions? You can email us at training@geophysical.com, or you can visit us on our website at www.geophysical.com. Thank you for watching.